Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and as most of us know, CD Projekt Red is held in very high regard across the games industry, most notably due to The Witcher 3, which was a revolutionary RPG for a lot of folks. On top of that, CD Projekt Red managed to win over a lot of consumers when it came to its free DLC practices, trying to normalize it in the games industry, and on top of that, of course, Blood and Wine, which was practically a brand new game. For me, I hopped on the CD Projekt Red bandwagon when it was about 2012. I remember getting my first ever gaming PC, buying The Witcher 2 on a whim because it was on a deep sale, played it, and I couldn't believe A, I could get a game that good for that cheap, and B, how had I not heard of The Witcher. With the release of the gameplay for Cyberpunk 2077, I thought it highlighted once again why CD Projekt Red has such a dedicated following that absolutely adores them. It's less of the gameplay that was released actually, and more so the messages and post-release interviews that actually highlight exactly what I'm talking about. Let's take a look at the message that actually did accompany the gameplay when it first dropped. CD Projekt Red, creators of The Witcher and Gwent, are proud to present the first gameplay recording of their upcoming open-world RPG, Cyberpunk 2077. What we're releasing today was recorded from a game deep in development, says Adam Badowski, Cyberpunk 2077 game director and CD Projekt Red head of studio. Since many of the assets and mechanics in the current version of Cyberpunk 2077 are most likely to be modified, we initially decided to show this gameplay only to the media. Elements like gunplay, both in terms of visuals and how RPG stats influence it, net running, car physics, or the game's UI, everything's pretty much still in the playtest phase, and we felt uneasy about publicly committing to any particular design. Animation glitches, work in progress character facial animations, early versions of locations, all of this made us hesitant to release what you're about to see. However, we are also aware that many of you want to see what the media saw, adds Badowski. Although this is probably not the same game you'll see on your screen when we launch, we still decided to share this 48-minute video with you. This is how Cyberpunk 2077 looks today. Let us know what you think. Now that message may set off some alarms initially of, oh my god, the gameplay that we saw that was absolutely incredible actually may not be in the final product. However, as highlighted in the message, we have the public commitment there, where CD Projekt Red is now gauging public interest at this point, and the reception has been nothing but incredibly positive, where they have a very good idea of where to head after this. This feedback is crucial because they were likely at a fork in the road deciding which way to go with certain design points, and now with that internet feedback, the press feedback, they have an idea of what the gamer is currently valuing, what they want in this title, and what they love that they saw about Cyberpunk. But the key theme you'll see across all these pieces I want to show you guys today that makes CD Projekt Red so loved is their level of transparency. Most developers will take any attention they can get. Very few say, hey, what you're seeing here actually may change, which as someone who's played games very early in development, at E3 demos or PAX demos, then play them at their final release, sometimes those demos you see on the stage are actually not even a part of the game or are drastically changed due to the fact that development happens, man. They make certain cuts, some things stay, but one thing that always remains is the DNA of what you saw. It's very much the same game in a lot of ways, so I don't think any folks should be alarmed or worried about this message, but that level of transparency, when someone inevitably does like a graphics comparison or a facial animation comparison, that we can at least take a look at this letter and say, we knew. And the baseline of a lot of this information too is they don't treat consumers like idiots. They assume you understand game development. Like this message from the game director very much assumes like, hey, you get how games work, right? Like some things change and we're just letting you know that. I mean, so many developers approach it like we have absolutely no idea how game development works. And we often end up in the dark or screwed over. They also got into the details of the build that Cyberpunk 2077 was played on. Once again, something that is often left in the dark for a lot of gamers. Whether it was an Xbox dev kit, was it a really super powerful PC? What's going on with that? We're just left to assume, and then sometimes we get the situation like Watch Dogs 1. CD Projekt Red has to say though, we know we are developing the game for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and we started the process of optimization right at the start. So that's why you see running on the demo is a PC, which is like i7 and 1080 Ti. We are starting from scratch, thinking about optimization, about the streaming works, how to introduce global illuminations, for instance, without overwhelming the CPU. See what I mean? Like, these aren't PR speak answers. These are very much, if you know how games work, you know how optimization works, you know when there's too much going on, the performance gets bogged down. And they're talking about how from the start they've been working to make sure it all fits together just right and the game isn't overwhelming itself, where you're gonna be skipping all over Night City. Like I said, just an answer that assumes you know about game development. And if anything, it gets you interested in saying, well, what's he talking about? And then doing your research on it and learning game development, which is so important for our industry as it grows. Furthermore, Cyberpunk 2077 is now playable from start to finish, says game producer. As reported by Engadget via IGN, the game's producer, Richard Borzamowski, says that this playable build is without final assets, is yet to be playtested, but after 6 years of work, a long spell of silence, and a flurry of excitement and anticipation, this marks a milestone in its development. It gives you the answers to all your doubts, says Borzamowski. It just feels great. What I love about this answer here so much is that CD Projekt Red could easily have an ego. They could easily be making so many creative decisions by saying, we're CD Projekt Red, we can definitely use our get out of jail free card right now. But they don't. They talk about how they were stressed. They talk about how they were hesitant. They want to protect their baby. They very much care about the creative process. And you can even see here when he goes, it kind of gets rid of all your doubts. They were doubting this project. And I know it's hard to imagine when we see the 48 minutes of gameplay and there's so many things in there that you already know are going to be game changers for the industry. It's hard to imagine how they could possibly doubt that work. But I mean, these guys wear their hearts on their sleeves. And gamers, because they see that vulnerability, gravitate towards it, surround it, support it. We also got some brand new information that I'd like to go over in this video as well. This is a world where the system and the powers that be have objectified people and literally turned them into objects. Many people turn themselves into objects in order to sometimes rebel or sometimes to fit in. Certainly, objectification would be a major theme. He then provided some interesting information on how we can influence the way people in Night City will react to our character. The way you dress, the way you customize your character, you want the world to respond to these things. Mills confirmed that NPCs will behave in a different way depending on how you're dressed and on the looks of your V. He explained that this kind of interaction was done in a limited way before in a few other games in the past, including Alpha Protocol or Daggerfall. A lot of you guys who watch my Cyberpunk videos probably have seen my 10 little details that you may have missed in Cyberpunk 2077's gameplay reveal video. By the way, thank you guys so much for sharing the crap out of that video and really giving it a lot of love and support, because I put so much time into it, so it really means a lot to see that video go somewhere. More importantly though, was actually that little detail number 2 received a correction from the creator of Cyberpunk himself over on Reddit. I was talking about NPC names, how I felt that it could break some of the immersion in the title because you're seeing NC Resident, you're seeing street vendors, a lot of people with the same names, where often you're just going to scan the environment until you see a person of importance like the name Stefan, and then you're going to go over there and talk to them. I used the example of him being just a quest giver and nothing else. Or Maddie, it could be that characters with names are people V actually knows as opposed to quest givers. I pissed off the guy who created Cyberpunk. It happens, man. Regardless, I really appreciate the clarification. We have a little more information on Cyberpunk, and that's so crucial. So thank you, Mike, for responding to my worries. Last part of the discussion that I want to handle is I noticed in the comments section of my video was a lot of people putting Bethesda versus CD Projekt Red, which totally makes sense because these are two RPG juggernauts, but everyone was going, Bethesda needs to step up their game, which they do. But I feel like when you look at CD Projekt Red, don't a lot of companies in comparison have to step up their game? If we call for the entire industry to step up their game, to match that standard, to put that level of expectation into all companies, wouldn't that help better the industry a little bit to motivate these other companies like Activision, like Ubisoft, yes, still Bethesda, and so on, to make more consumer-friendly decisions? Just a little food for thought for you guys, if anything. Competition is excellent for our industry. We see how well it works between Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, and I think that everyone should be held to the CD Projekt Red standard, not just someone like Bethesda, because overall that improves the entire industry, not just one company. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all the information presented and how CD Projekt Red has won your heart over in the comments down below. So do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active, I love you all, peace.